Coming up on the March 5th edition of Carolina Week.
These protesters might not be willing to die for their cause, but they are willing to strip for it.
Is losing weight worth possibly losing your life? What you need to know about the dietary supplement ephedra.
And we're going jade walking on the eve of spring break. All that and more.
Carolina Week starts now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening, I'm Alex Lawson.
And I'm Jenny McClendon. Thanks for joining us. Our top story tonight: the signs, the arguments, the loud voices, all passionate protest against a possible war in Iraq. But as Brad Broders reports, not everyone on campus shares those views.
It seems last Sunday was just the beginning. 4 days after 750 people marched on Franklin Street in an anti-war rally, 200 students assembled in Polk Place Wednesday, again voicing their anti-war views.
Weapons inspectors are in place in Iraq. The United Nations, however unwieldy its processes may be, is fully capable of mounting and sustaining a necessary security force.
The protesters weren't alone. Several people came out to protest the protesters themselves, carrying signs and carrying out peaceful discussions about what action to take in Iraq. Junior Laura Chapman says many of the protesters are short-sighted and aren't seeing the big picture.
No one really likes war, but when it comes down to the fact that there is no other solution possible besides taking out this you can't let a radical have nuclear weapons. When it comes down to that, then war seems to be the only solution. So yes, it is difficult to voice your opinion when that entails, killing people.
Well, anti-war sentiment rings true here in the quad for the second time in a week. Students in favor of ousting Saddam Hussein voiced their opposition in the pit. There, freshman Trip Casas set up this table of anti-Saddam Hussein pamphlets, information he sees as an alternative to widespread campus thought.
I think the overwhelming majority of faculty here is against war and against President Bush. And what we are trying to do is present factual information from the other side of the argument so that students will be able to make their own decisions.
As a potential war draws more anti-war presentation on campus, Casas and others intend to have their voice heard as well. In Chapel Hill, I'm Brad Broders, Carolina Week.
The March 5th protest on campus was part of a national movement protesting the possibility of war with Iraq.
Another war protest on campus, but this time not a lot of clothing.
Let there be no war in Iraq!
Let there be no war in Iraq! About a dozen protesters stripped down Tuesday in opposition to a war with Iraq. Students crowded around the pit to watch the group Naked People for Peace kick off its protest with anti-war chants. The group then joined hands, walked through Polk Place, down Franklin Street, and then back to Haynes Arts Center. Police warned the group beforehand that total nudity would get them arrested, so the protesters wore skimpy white sheets. Ray Schwartz says even though he didn't bear it all, he's still glad he got his message out.
Coming out with even this little amount of clothes on, obviously I'm not entirely naked, but feels very intense and vulnerable. And I think the point that we're trying to make is that all around the world, particularly in Iraq and many other places that the U.S. military is poised for offensive strikes, there are a lot of people who do feel very vulnerable.
The group staged a similar display in Carrboro last weekend. One member says Tuesday's protest won't be the last.
Law enforcement agencies here in Chapel Hill are feeling the effects of deployment. 2 reservists from this area have already been called up to duty, 1 officer from Chapel Hill Police and 1 from UNC Police. But officials say they don't expect a shortage of officers.
Leaving the country for spring break this year could prove to be more dangerous than usual. Passports are already issued, tickets are already paid for, and students are getting ready to go, though not without warnings. The State Department issued a warning to Americans traveling abroad of possible terrorist attacks because of the recent threat of war. Some students at UNC Chapel Hill aren't canceling their plans to go abroad, but they'll remain cautious while away. Junior Shannon Valancourt is going to England and France and says she'll be extra careful.
My parents are very worried about me going and have said that if we declare war on Iraq in the next couple weeks, then I can't go. But I'm I'm excited about my trip. I just have to be more cautious while I'm abroad.
The State Department didn't name specific countries in its warning, but instead alerted Americans in all parts of the world. For more information about traveling abroad, visit our website at carolinaweek.org.
Most students aren't letting the threat of war disrupt their spring break plans. Carolina Week's Aaron Mesmer and Jade Biggio went jade walking across campus to find out what students know about their spring break destinations.
Erica, where are you going on spring break?
Jamaica.
Do you know where exactly Jamaica is located?
In the Caribbean. I looked at the globe last night. I found it out, but I knew it was in the Caribbean. But
Is Jamaica a country of itself, or is there a country that actually owns Jamaica, or is Jamaica a province
I'm
of
pretty sure it's by itself?
How many different spring break places that have the word key in it can you name? You guys can work together on this one.
Key West, Key Largo. Dang, I thought you guys were going to think of that. It seems like there should be much more, but that's the only two that come to my head, really.
And are you guys going anywhere for spring break?
I'm going to Jamaica.
Do you know where Jamaica is?
Yeah, it's in the ocean too.
So are you planning on drinking when you're there?
No, I'm not 21.
She is lying.
Aruba, Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take it.
Bermuda, Bahamas, come on, pretty mama.
Key Largo, Montego, baby,
Don't know all the words.
Jamaica and the Florida Keys.
Yeehaw!
You'll probably hear a collective yeehaw at 5 p.m. on Friday when spring break officially begins.
UNC Chapel Hill's yearbook editor says George Lehman and Doug Melton need to reconsider their plan to put the yearbook on CD. In their campaign platform for senior class officers, Lehman and Melton promised their class senior perks if elected. One of these perks includes a CD-ROM version of the Yakety Yak. Now, Yakety Yak editor Sandy Green disagrees with the plan, saying the CD version will reduce the quality of the book format. Lehman and Melton say this will make the very under-celebrated yearbook cheaper and more available. Green disagrees and says Lehman and Melton don't have the authority to push the proposal through.
When they decided to do this for their platform, they didn't come to talk to myself or the board of directors about this issue to see like if it was even a feasible thing to do, if it was cost-wise going to be a good idea, or even like quality-wise.
There are no formal plans to implement the proposal. Late Wednesday afternoon, Lehman told us it was primarily Melton's idea. Melton was unavailable for comment.
Although the radio tower atop Swain Hall is silent now, the voice of one of WUNC's earliest announcers could be heard on campus Tuesday afternoon. Carl Castle, a UNC alumnus and popular national public radio personality, delivered the 17th Reed Surratt Lecture in the School of Journalism. Castle shared anecdotes from his distinguished career and offered advice to aspiring journalists. Castle has been with NPR since 1975 and is best known for his work with the news program Morning Edition and the quiz show Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. While at UNC, Castle worked with widely known radio and TV personality Charles Kuralt. Castle toured the Kuralt Learning Center during his visit. He has fond memories of Kuralt.
He was wonderful. He was so far ahead of me that he put me in my place rather quickly. At least when I saw his ability and was able to work with him on some of those radio plays.
Castle has worked with the award-winning program Morning Edition since it began in 1979. Well, it's not often that police ask you to drive drunk.
Find out why these Carolina students are having trouble behind the wheel when Carolina Week returns.
Women's Center, may I help you?
The Women's Center is a nonprofit agency that has served as a meeting place for women in the Triangle since 1979, making it one of the oldest freestanding women's centers in the country. The mission of the Women's Center is to provide a supportive community where all women can inspire each other to grow, both personally and professionally.
I was going through a crisis at home, and I contacted Helpline, and they referred me directly to the Women's Center.
I think the Women's Center is really important for the community because it offers so many different kinds of resources, and if we don't have the resource here, we can find an avenue or a way for women to find the answers that they need.
It is inspiring. It's so exciting to be a part of something that really matters and really changes things.
You can support the Women's Center through membership or by sending a contribution to the Women's Center, 210 Henderson Street, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27514.
Have you taken an aspirin today? You might want to. A new study conducted at UNC Chapel Hill shows that taking an aspirin a day helps prevent the recurrence of colon polyps. Polyps often occur before the development of colorectal cancer. A full report about the findings of the study appears in the most recent edition of the New England Journal of Medicine. UNC Chapel Hill Professor of Medicine Dr. Robert S. Sandler headed the study. He says this discovery could help prevent this deadly form of cancer.
We think that because polyps turn into cancer, this means that we can prevent cancer with aspirin as well. But that's not proven.
The study began in 1992 and involved participants from across the country.
Major League Baseball is investigating a link between the death of a baseball player and the use of the dietary supplement ephedra. Carolina Week's Anton Zeiker has details about the supplement and its side effects.
Step into any gym and chances are you'll find someone who takes ephedra.
It increases your heart rate as you work out, and you retain heat, so you sweat more, and it just gives you more energy.
That's because ephedra contains the stimulant ephedrine. The Health and Human Services Department says ephedra is popular because it can lead to weight loss. But only last week, HHS Secretary Tommy Thompson released a report that reviewed more than 16,000 adverse reactions to ephedra products.
I would not take this. I would not give it to my family, and I don't know why anyone would take these products. Why take the risk?
I used to take it to try to lose weight, and I still do sometimes, but now it gives me energy. I take it if I can't wake up in the morning, and it'll kind of wake me up.
Carolina physician Brian Smith oversees the UNC Sports Medicine Clinic.
I would think if you're using ephedrine and exercise, I think you have to be very cautious with it. When it speeds up your heart rate, it can cause potentially an arrhythmia where the heart misbeats, if you want to call it that. And those kinds of situations can potentially be life-threatening.
This bottle of sports drink contains 25 milligrams of ephedra. Dr. Smith says ephedra increases blood pressure and metabolism and can shut down the body's ability to sweat. This combination can lead to heat stroke, a life-threatening emergency.
In terms of ephedrine, it's a banned substance by the NCAA, so it's a substance that athletes at the collegiate level shouldn't be using.
The government wants to caution everyone. HHS announced a plan to require warning labels on all products that contain ephedra. The label would read, "Heart attack, stroke, seizure, and death have been reported after consumption."
I think the warning label is a good idea, but since I've never had any bad experience with it, it wouldn't affect me at all.
Gunderson takes pills called Stackers. Ephedra comes in many products under many names, including a variety of sports drinks. A Senate investigation into ephedra last year estimated U.S. sales of $3 billion in 2002. This despite the fact that 54 deaths have been linked to ephedra since 1995. In Chapel Hill, I'm Anton Zeiker, Carolina Week.
The government wants to see more studies before completely banning ephedra. In the meantime, Dr. Smith recommends speaking to a physician before you use any product containing ephedra.
Students on campus are driving drunk, but it's only a simulation. The North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program brought the Booze It or Lose It drunk driving simulator to campus to warn students not to drive drunk. The simulator tested students' reaction times under different levels of intoxication. With each increase in alcohol content, the students' reaction time slowed considerably, showing them it's never a good idea to drive after drinking. Sophomore Trey Waters says the simulator is an eye-opening experience.
It slowed your reaction time to people running out in the street and stuff, so I mean it just sort of hits home if you would hit a little kid or something and be put in jail, or if you were drinking and driving, something like that.
Officers say they wanted to hit campus this week because spring break starts Friday. Many students will be hitting the roads, and officers hope they'll remember what they learned. And speaking of spring break, Kelly Mahoney is here with a forecast for the coming week. I do. I have a spring break forecast all set for you. The good news is at least travel weather will be good as we head into it. But I'll let you know more about that in just a second. Spring break is the big story this week, but the other big story is flooding that is being felt in parts of eastern North Carolina as some of last week's rain and snow starts to melt. And our weather question this week is, flood stage occurs when a river or water is 2 feet above the bank, a river crests, a dam breaks, or people and property are harmed. I'll have your spring break forecast coming up in just a minute.
I think you should wear a tie.
Dad, nobody wears ties to school.
Tie says you're serious. It'll make a good impression. And remember, you're there to study,
to learn, and to make something of myself. I got it.
Almost half of all UNCF students are the first in their family to go to college.
They have some great architecture classes.
Dad, I'm not really interested in architecture.
Well, keep your options open. And remember, no girls until
my work is done.
And I'd make sure that I got my lunch.
Dad, you're not going. I am.
I know.
Listen, we better get going. Don't want to be late the first day, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're the first to go, you're going for a lot of people. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Hi and welcome back to Carolina Week. Well, what a difference a week makes. Last week we were gearing up for another big ice storm, and this week high temperatures are topping out in the 70s. Taking a look around campus, students are really taking advantage of the beautiful weather. The weather seems to have induced spring break fever, frisbee and bike riding, and just staying outside and soaking up the beautiful springtime weather seems to be an awful lot better than class. Well, March has certainly come in quite nicely and it looks promising. March does tend to be a big time of transition though, but if we want to talk averages, the average high for this month is 53 degrees. Average low is still a chilly 31. We tend to see kind of a lot of rain, almost 4 inches over the month, and winds, which March is known for, are an impressive 9 miles per hour on average, ushering in all that change that we see over the next couple of weeks. Well, the big story this week is obviously spring break. It starts in a few days, so let's take a look at some of the most popular spring break destinations and their forecasts. Keep in mind, if you see some rain showers where you're going, this is just a very wide brush forecast, so don't get too depressed. If you're heading down to Myrtle Beach, you might see some scattered showers, but you'll also see some nice days as well. But the temperature trend should be in the low 60s, which is still fairly good for this time of the year. Panama City Beach down in Florida, again scattered showers. It's kind of an unsettled pattern setting up, but temperatures should be a bit warmer there. Most daytime highs will be in the low 70s. Key West, we'll see mostly cloudy at the beginning of the week, but clearing up toward the end of the week. So if that's where you're headed, there is good news there, and temperatures will feel very nice in the 80s. If a ski vacation is on tap for you and Aspen and other Colorado type destinations, snow does look to be the trend, especially in the mid to end of next week, and temperatures will be just perfect for skiing right around the 30-degree mark. If you're heading down to Cancun, maybe on a cruise or something, mostly sunny skies there. It looks like a great place to go as temperatures will be in the upper 80s. And of course, if you're heading to the Bahamas as well, very nice weather will prevail for most of the week under mostly sunny skies and temperatures in the upper 80s. Well, taking a look at what the weather is shaping up to be around here right now, you can see a very large area of disturbed weather. This has really been the story for the last week or so and will start to change over the next couple of days. This area of clouds is actually the subtropical jet. That's what's bringing us a lot of the high clouds and moist air right now. What's going to happen is it's going to sink down low after a front passes Thursday and to Friday. If we take a look at the surface map, you can see how things do shape up over the next day or two. You can see heading into Friday, the front will push off the coast. It will stall out just a little bit and give us some remaining clouds behind it. But again, if you're headed out west, there will be a number of systems just kind of sweeping through, giving some broad brush snowstorms and such. Good news is it won't be impacting the rest of the country, so our pattern is setting up to be quite nice over the next few days and even into next week. Your Carolina Week 4-day forecast shows that quite well. On Friday, we do see some lingering clouds with that system as it moves on off. A daytime high of 58 degrees. Lows will be in the upper 30s. On Saturday and Sunday, clearing on up, and into Monday, mostly cloudy skies with very comfortable temperatures in the upper 50s to low 60s. If you're headed down to the beach to kick off your spring break in North Carolina, a chance of rain on Saturday, but clearing up on Sunday. Highs will be in the 60s and lows will be fairly mild in the upper 40s. Heading out to the mountains to do some North Carolina skiing. Seems to be pretty nice around here. On Saturday, mostly cloudy skies, a warm high of 58. Sunday cooling down a little bit as the sun pops back out. And taking a look at those ski forecasts, the ski slopes are pretty much still open, starting to taper off a little bit. Appalachian with 9, Cataloochee with 6, Ski Beach with 13, and Sugar Mountain is still cranking away with 20 runs open. So you seem to have a lot of options as we head into next week for spring break, no matter where you're going, really. But getting back to that weather question, anyone want to guess what flood stage means?
Well, I don't know. 2 feet seems very high.
It
so
does.
I'm going to have to go with A.
It's actually D. It's a very fuzzy qualitative definition, but it's whenever people and property are harmed. So, and that is happening in eastern North Carolina, so a lot of people are feeling the effects of that right now.
All right. Thanks,
a lot,
Kelly.
No problem.
All right, well, Brittany McGraw joins us now with sports. It's tournament time.
It definitely is. If you're a college sports fan, then you probably think basketball and March Madness, but there are plenty of other tournaments going on in other sports, such as wrestling and gymnastics and golf, and we'll talk about that later. Also coming up in sports, it's the last ACC tournament for one special player on the women's basketball team this weekend. We'll tell you who she is when Carolina Week Sports returns.
It's springtime in the forest of the black-tailed deer. The young male is feeling playful. It's time for tag. The female flicks her ears. Her way of saying, "Catch me if you can."
I wonder how Silent Sam feels about guarding the university from groups of third-grade kids. Maybe he's lost interest. We haven't heard his rifle fire recently. Still, he stands, a steadfast defender of something. What is it? No one knows the real Carolina like a student. Carolina Week, the student news show.
Welcome back to Carolina Week Sports. After a hot 5-0 start, Carolina baseball fell back to earth with 2 weekend losses. The Tar Heels tried to start a new streak against Lemoyne Tuesday afternoon at Boshamer Stadium. Down 1-0 in the third, Sammy Hewitt keeps Carolina close with the nice barehanded play. The Tar Heel offense gets going in the fourth. Ryan Blake triples to right to bring in 2 runs and put Carolina up 3-1. Still in the fourth, a Mike Daniel single scores Blair Waggett and Chad Prosser 6-1 Heels. On the mound, Gary Baker allows just 5 hits in 6 innings. Carolina rolls 8-1, or 8-2, excuse me. The Carolina men's tennis team doesn't shy away from tough competition. The Tar Heels faced 4 top 20 opponents in their first 6 matches. Then there was Gardner-Webb Friday. The 1-5 Bulldogs don't put up much of a fight. Daniel Pinchbeck hits the winner, and then an ace for Andrew Metzler. Shelby native Jonathan Janda wins against his hometown school. Tristan Mignon seals his match with a big serve, and Jeff Boyd cruises 6-1, 6-2. And freshman Derek Porter doesn't lose a game, Carolina doesn't drop a set, and Porter is happy to stay undefeated this spring after a tough first semester.
So I didn't have a very good fall at all, and I'm sure they're all pretty nervous about how I was going to do in the spring. And I knew we needed somebody to step up, so I'm just glad I'm doing my part right now for the team.
The women's tennis team matched the men with a shutout of their own against Boston University Saturday. Sunday's match was tougher, but the Heels eked out a 4-3 win against 26th-ranked Harvard, thanks to a 3-set comeback win by top seed Kate Pinchbeck. With only 1 home meet remaining before the Gymnastics League Championship, Carolina's women put on a show for a packed house Sunday afternoon at Carmichael Auditorium. On the bar, senior Fritzy Cathcart spins, bends, and twirls her way to a 9.75 on the uneven bars, putting her in a 5-way tie for 4th in the event. Courtney Bumpers gives an all-around great performance during the day, and she and teammate Anna Wilson tie for 1st in all-around honors. The Heels defeat Minnesota, Towson, and William & Mary and improve to 17-1. Carolina will compete against Maryland on Saturday. As the women's basketball season nears an end, so does the career of one of its star players. Carolina Week Sports' Drew Matthews has her story.
Carolina women's basketball coach Sylvia Hatchell knew she found her next great player when she went to Statesboro, Georgia 4 years ago to see a 5'7" point guard named Coretta Brown.
We watched her play and just right away fell in love with her.
After a visit at Carolina, Brown fell in love with the school and signed to play for the Heels. After a disappointing freshman season, critics wondered if Hatchell had made the right choice, but the coach knew better.
Her sophomore year, when basically everyone was saying, what you going to do for a point guard? And I said, we've got Coretta Brown. And they said, who? I said, we've got Coretta Brown. And so we put Coretta out there, and she had an exceptional sophomore year and basically ran the show for us.
Brown didn't stop there as she continued to improve and became an All-ACC first-team selection her junior year. Entering her senior season, the usually quiet Brown knew she had to step up and lead her team.
Granted that I am a captain on this team and my teammates do look at me as a leader, that's what I have to do.
Her leadership has helped the Heels to a 25-4 record and earned her a 2nd All-ACC first-team selection. In Brown's final regular season game here at Carmichael Auditorium last Thursday, she and the other seniors were honored in a pregame ceremony that made even the stoic Brown a little emotional.
It felt great. I had a blast. I refused to cry. but I loved it. My parents being here and just seeing all the fans that supported me, my 4 years here, I loved it.
When Brown's college career ends this month, she'll rank #1 in school history in career three-point shooting percentage and in the top 5 in assists. Coach Hatchell says Brown will always be remembered at Carolina.
Coretta's special, there's no doubt about that. It's because of what she's meant to our program, how I've seen her grow as a person, just how solid she is. I mean, it's been a joy to coach her.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Drew Matthews, Carolina Week Sports.
Brown and the rest of the Heels head to Greensboro Thursday for the ACC tournament, but they won't play until Saturday. Carolina is the #2 seed and awaits the winner of the 7-8 game between Clemson and Maryland. Now, the women's basketball team isn't the only team that's involved in tournaments soon. Also, the wrestling team travels to Boone for the ACC tournament on Saturday. The men's golf team plays in its 2nd tournament of the spring in the Seminole Intercollegiate starting on Monday. And, of course, the men's basketball team will start its ACC tournament next weekend.
Okay, thanks a lot, Brittany.
Well, Chapel Hill and Carrboro are celebrating Brazilian style.
We'll tell you why right after the break.
Okay, guys, time for takeoff. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! Wow! Look at that! Is that Jupiter?
Hey kids, it's time to go to the planetarium.
Moorhead Planetarium, where dreams become reality.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
It's time for Carnaval in Brazil.
And the Brazilian community in Chapel Hill and Carrboro doesn't want to miss the celebration. That's why for the 3rd consecutive year, the Brazilian Social Club promoted the Carnaval in Carrboro. Saturday, people enjoyed typical Brazilian performances such as the axé dance, samba, and capoeira. The party attracted all age groups and offered a little taste of what the real Carnival is like.
Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for joining us. Have a safe and enjoyable spring break.
We'll see you back here next time. Good night.